How do you train for something like that?
Just action every day.
So is it aerobic exercise?
Nah, man, it's just brutal. Drag yourself.
Yeah.
Just get used to where the contact points are going to be on your legs. So I would. You're a local fella. I'd go to the base of the northern side of Glenrock Reserve and crawl to the other.
It was on fire yesterday.
I know it was. Yeah, mate. Fucking everywhere's on fire.
I couldn't believe that because right on the Fearnley, spelled differently to your name, right on the Fearnley track there, that's where the fire sort of started and built through there. And I was like, obviously someone's thrown a cigarette or lit it on fire at school holidays at the moment when we're filming this. And you just think, what a fucking idiot to do that when you see so much on the news and all that type of stuff. But anyway, that's a whole different side of things. But yeah, you'd crawl through there.
I would, mate. Yeah, so I would put the wheelchair, I'd park the car, push to the start of where it would become pretty undulating, turn the wheelchair upside down and just crawl in one direction for a few hours. Probably only go 2 hours in one direction then because it'd take me about 3 hours to get back just because fatigued and busted a bit. But I did that for 18 months. I'd find stairs and I was living in just a 2-story apartment block that had a little like hallway, and so I'd just go up and down the stairs for an hour or so every hour. It was all just trying to get the practical skills of crawling again, and it's just not a natural thing. Crawling is just.
What does that do to your upper body strength? Like, what do you go into the gym and bench press? Is that like a big part of your training, or?
Nah, mate, no. So if I try and steer clear of the gym. If I'm going, I work the engine if I'm going to the gym, or rehab or kind of pre-ab, so work every muscle that I don't use in the chair.
Yep.
If I need to put on strength, mate, I would have packed on muscle during that year.
Yeah, for
not
sure.
efficient muscle.
Yep.
So not muscle that was really good for racing. It probably hurt my racing a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, you were doing so much damage that everything had no alternative but to get bigger and adjust.
So how many days was the Kokoda?
11.
Okay, 11 days. I mean, for anyone who trains a lot, you know that after, even if you're doing a 2-a-day sort of training, a split or whatever you're doing, after day 3 or 4, you need a rest day. How is it moving through that?
We weren't going to have a rest day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you get through that? The pain of just your muscles going, we need to stop.
Yeah, it's like it feels like you've been put on a rack and just ripped apart. There is no part of you that's not sore. We had a couple of half days, but there was no way you were going to stop a day in one location because, like, I'm in the dirt as well. You know, like I'm in you got leeches crawling up your ass, and it's like
fucking hell.
It's just like I couldn't have done it a day quicker, but I couldn't have done it a day longer. Like I just couldn't have spent another day in the mud.
What was that moment crossing the finish line? Was it a relief?
Just relief. Like there was nothing more than relief. Yeah, but the local fellas, like it was funny. It was real education. They were tough as nails, mate. Genuine dudes who would just, like every single night, my porter, would sit down next to me and he'd say, "Tell me you want to go home. I'll have you there by the morning."
Wow.
So he'd tell me, "You want to get home, I'll put you on my shoulder and you'll be there by morning." And he said that again and again and again every night. And yeah, man, by the time we just got there, it was just emotion.
Are the locals moving through that area differently to Westerners or differently to Australians in this case?
It's a Wild West.
Yeah.
Like it is. It's hard to believe it's a 3-hour flight from Australia, you know, like it's. So when I first landed there, life's pretty tough, pretty basic. One of the things that got me is that the bush telegraph was working. So I was crawling along a village and then I'd crawl like a K out of the other side and everyone would follow me. And then it was like you'd hit a riverbed, everyone would stop.
Yeah.
And then you'd go another 100 metres and the village from in front of you had come forward and they were ready to meet you and they would walk the next 3 hours next to you.
Right.
And not on the track, like 10 metres either side, just looking in. And I remember looking across, it would have been about day 8, so you're full on in the middle of it. And she would have been a 2 or 3 year old girl from the next village who had walked a couple of hours to see what I was and then was walking back with me, kind of smiling, dragging a machete behind her that was about that long. Like this is maybe a 3-year-old little girl. Like I got a 5-year-old kid and I barely give him a butter knife.
No way, yeah, absolutely. It's Lego and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just, the reality there is tough. The reality there is very tough. There are some beautiful parts about it because the communal lifestyle, like you give someone, you get halfway through it and you're like, what do I need these earthly possessions for? You go, because you're getting a bit out there and you give your hat away or your sunnies away. I don't need this. And then because you give this to a guy, there's actually a communal ownership of it, and that will then go through 5 or 6 people for the rest of the trek. And you see people, they get given 2 thongs, but they'll give 1 thong to another guy, and the next day they're walking the track with 1 thong on. So you can't really compare it to anything that you see over here. It's just it's the Wild West, mate. Like.